job and maximize your career. I don't think any of us would, I think all of us would say those are great things. To be in line with God, to be in the right job, and to maximize that. So we have a workbook and a website. And what I'm going to share with you is a 7-step action plan. Some of you have seen this maybe in the ins and outs or came in a different step through iWork. I'm going to run through all of them tonight. And if you have your notepad like I do, because I keep one too, guys, or sometimes God downloads something through me. I'm like, where did I get that from? I better write that down. Have one there and take a little note or write down your question so you don't forget it later. Or even if you want, you can go ahead and put a question in the chat box now. We won't get to it until the end. But if you need to put that off write that down so you don't forget it, go ahead and do that, and we'll be able to slide through them. I have them in front of me. Okay. First, 7-step action plan. We want to go upward. The second, we want to look inward. So first we go upward to God and go, God, I'm at a crossroads in my career. What do you want me to do next? That's kind of upward. Inward, how's my attitude? What's my aptitude? What am I good at? And how do I put those two together to fly at a new level? Okay. And why we look inward is because, God made us in his image. He made us as his masterpiece. As his masterpiece, and those good works he prepared for us and long ago, what does that look like? How do we get those out there? How do we use those? How do we put those to work? And that's where that inwards comes in to help us get our attitude together, figure out what we do best, and so we can serve those who need it the most. And then how do we take that kind of that laser approach, and how do we target opportunities with altitude so we can, it's kind of like the smart bomb, that we drop sometimes when we need to defeat our enemies. We gather all our tools, all our information, all the analysis, and we put it together in something, and we target a specific place and go make our presence known. That's what we're going to help you do tonight. To me, that's altitude. It's kind of like to call it. Then we go outward. So we went upward to God. We got our check. We're in line with him. Then we look inward. How have you made me? Now, what do you want me to do with that? Now we're going outward. We're going to serve, seek to serve. We're going to help people with our skills, abilities, goals, dreams, passions. That's where we start searching. That's where step 5. Step 6 is sorting. Because as you go out, you're going to find a couple of different things, right? We already heard that on tonight's call. We got a couple people going, I hope this is the right opportunity. I think that was Brianne. Well, one of the ways you're going to know that better is by getting some of these steps under your belt and executing on them. And it's also going to help the employer know as well. And that's where we get to selecting. That's step 7. That's when we're picking that one specific thing, or in this day and age, in what's called, you might have heard of it called the gig economy, where there's multiple gigs or multiple things people are doing and putting that into their overall income or their overall jobs week in, week out. Then you need to walk on the good works that God prepared for you. It may be a combination of things, and that combination of things may be forever, right? There's going to be so many things that come out of this COVID thing. Who knows? More people may work from home. Never thought they could, never thought they would, but now they are. And they're piecing that along with something else they do out and about. Who knows what that may look like for everybody? So having all these steps in mind really going to serve us throughout our career, not just in this situation or not just tonight. All right, so real quick overview of the Crossroads career website and what Jim shared tonight in the Job Connection site he's going to be getting out to you guys. It's overwhelmingly cool. But again, fire hose idea is everyone gets a chance to log into their own account and do a bunch of cool stuff there. Because of our time tonight, I'm not going to go into all of it, but this is a nice snapshot of some of the highlighted tools that you can get into, and they're making it better every day. I know the owner of the platform personally. He's been a good friend, and I'm looking forward to having him be able to serve Idlewild as well in the surrounding area. And just for you, at the end, I made today a special little bonus and things just for you guys on the call today. I kind of tried to download and really curate the best of the best free online resources that Crossroads has based on the step that they're in. And so I call it just this little hot list of links. Again, I told you I'm expressive, so I got to have all these colors and come up with these fun names and stuff like that. But I put this together, and it's clickable, and I'll show you later how to get locked in with that. But what that is a curated list. When you get there, there's way more than that, but I kind of put the best of the best into that, going to help you ASAP. Of course, nothing is better, and one of the links even in that hot list is what we call 1-800-DEAR-GOD. You guys, Idlewild will have their own private prayer network online as a result of what Jim talked about earlier, but also you have access to it nationwide. that you can pray anonymously. And it's really cool stuff. I was just reading some of them today. There are a lot of people throughout the whole country that are submitting prayer requests just like we submitted tonight. So if one thing it does is it encourages us to know that we do not stand alone, that the trials we face are not uncommon. They are common to many, whether folks that believe in the Lord or not. We're all going through this together. And so 1-800-DEAR-GOD is a nice blue page, as we call it, of prayers that you can dial up whenever you have a specific need, like the anxieties. Guys, I get it. I mean, I launched a business. This is not what I thought I'd be doing, launching a business sometimes. It's difficult, right? Things like depression, things like arguments with our spouses or relatives. I mean, these create tension, these situations. God knows how to answer that call, and he wants you to call on him. We give you the numbers to do that. All right. I feel like I said so much. We could stop to now, but we got much more to go. This is what we talk about at Crossroads. Where Crossroads originated was Jeremiah 6:16. Take that scripture in for yourself. See, there's a good way. There's rest. There's God's cadence, not man's cadence, right? And so he says we'll find rest for our souls when we ask for his ways, the ancient paths that have been there since the onset of time, before the beginning of time as we know it. He's got the good way. He wants us to walk in it, just like he said that he made us in God's image to walk in the masterpiece that we are, the good works that Jesus has for us, right? So these themes are continual, and they're all throughout Scripture. And I wanted to share that with you guys. That is the Crossroads verse. Okay, Crossroads in your career, right? This was before even the COVID thing. 162 plus million are in the U.S. workforce at any given time. And in that time, about 10 plus million of people are unemployed or underemployed. And when you look at the unemployed statistics, yes, they're pretty large and even larger today, but that doesn't even count sometimes the underemployed. Okay, people that are working, but they're not making what they need to cover their bases. You know that you may be there. I've been in that situation as well. Even bigger, 66% of people are unengaged or disengaged actively. They're choosing to go to work and just check out, hoping that 5 o'clock comes sooner than it seems like. And then 46% of workers are dissatisfied with their job. So you see what I'm saying? All this stuff, it doesn't matter. All these things I'm going to teach you tonight, whether you're finding yourself unemployed, laid off, or unfulfilled, these things I'm going to teach you tonight are going to help you in your career in its entirety. And then I looked up some stats today. 3.3 million filed unemployment on March 26, just a couple of weeks ago. And some of the harshest kind of stats are that 40 million jobs could be lost by the end of April. We were just at an all-time high, of employment, all-time low of unemployment, and then boom, this comes. So I don't know what about you, but what that tells me is we can do anything. And then we have Christ. We can do all things through him who strengthens us, right? So can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. I just got some little notification on my little Zoom that I can't do something. I don't know. So who are you going to call? We're not going to call Ghostbusters. So for those of you that know what I'm talking about, we're not going to call Ghostbusters in this situation. We're going to call on God. And that's step number one. Step number one is upward. Hear God calling. And this is what we have. You guys all know Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you. And if you didn't know, you will know now. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you, to give you a hope and a future, right? But if we turn the page and we look at Jeremiah 29:12 and 13, it talks about when we seek him, he'll be there for us. There's things that are going to count on us too. And that means we have to raise our hand and go, God, I'm looking upward to you. Help me. I want to hear you calling. I want to hear what you're saying. And that is what this step is all about. So your hope in the future, what does that look like? Well, man, look at all those felt needs: family, friends, health, work, wealth. These are the five highest felt needs that a human being experiences. And notice how they're not sectioned off and broken off completely. They're tied together. So that means when our work isn't going well, our wealth isn't probably going so well. And then that may call on our health, our family and friends, our relationship may be strained. And now we can't even see them in a way that we really want to. And man, what an interesting time, right? But we've never changed. We've been made body, soul, and spirit. And each one of us is connected and attached in the same way with the body, soul, and spirit. So we got to think about, where is our hope going to rest? Is it going to rest in a job? Is it going to rest on the Lord? And so that's where we want to start. And that's what I'm trying to convey here with step one. Now, what does that look like? Upward, loving God completely, no matter what, giving him our all. I mean, I've been having some harsh times with God lately. Like, God, what are you doing? And I'm just being real with you all. I've been frustrated. And not just because of a lack of this or a lack of that, but I just get saddened by the things I'm seeing and the frustration. Maybe you too. That's real. That's going on. But I constantly have to have the control to say, God, I know you're in control. I just don't like what you're doing right now. And, just being real with you. But then looking inward, how do I love myself correctly? How do we love ourselves no matter what mistakes we made, no matter what we should have, could have, would have done before the crisis, in our careers, with our family, whatever it is today? How do we love God completely, then love ourselves correctly, knowing that we're made in his image? Because if we can't love ourselves correctly, we surely can't serve others with the love that we don't have. So I just want to encourage you with that. And then outwards, how do we love others compassionately? And in the workplace, in the career, how are we helping people beyond the normal? How are we serving others with the love of Christ, or being kind and compassionate, right? These are serious issues today, and they're going to affect your next steps with your career, whether you know it or not. So again, this is a setup for the next couple steps. And then work is worship. Work is worship. The Bible says, I believe it's in First Chronicles, I may be wrong, don't quote me on that, but where it is only by the Lord's hand that we have the abilities to create the wealth that we have. God gives us the abilities. He gives us the talents. He created us for these good works. And with that, we get to make the money that we get. But we have to understand that work, no matter what, is worship. No matter what we make, no matter how many hours, no matter what location. Okay, so here's a quick step. Maybe you want to take a screenshot of that. That's a nice little summary there, something to keep in front of you. 1, 2, 3, shoot the screen. Okay. Next, go with God. This is something that's in our workbook that I love. It's also weaving through a whole program, and it's also on that hot list that I'll send you later, or get out the information to get later. And these are some 11 ways you can really ask yourself, what am I doing? What am I not doing? And it's not about being rules-based, but will help you in your relationship with God, with yourself, and with others to accomplish that upward, inward, outward. And these are some of the 11 ways to do that. Try doing a couple new things maybe this week that you haven't done before. Maybe you've already done that just out of the sense of the quarantine we're in, or the closed doors we've been behind. We can't go out and do some of the things we normally do. And finally, we're being called and we're taking time to be with God. I know I have. So you got to also take time to invest in you, albeit different. Finding the right work is work every day, sectioning off a time of your day to get in front of opportunities. I'll show you some of that a little bit later. Second is, how are you budgeting your money? How are you budgeting to make it through a storm? Guys, it's tough. It's tough, but you can do it. And then effort, work the workbook and the website. And I'm going to share with you a couple ways to get access to both of those so you can kind of keep on somewhat of a track using the things I'm talking to you about tonight. And of course, you have the calls coming up with iWork every Monday on Zoom. Something here is cool. It's called a weekly progress exercise, or review and preview, we call it in Crossroads land. This is also in that hot links. I want you to celebrate the work you are doing every single week. God, this happened. I did this. I did this activity. I did that. I had an interview. I had a phone call. I got out of my comfort zone in this way. And, kind of take down, what did you learn? And then also preview what you're going to do the upcoming week. And if you're like me, you're competitive. I created a little scorecard for myself that I'm going to do certain things in my business, post blogs, do Facebook Lives, create some new content, get on webinars such as this, be able to serve that way and assign a point value to each one of those. So I feel like I'm making some points, I'm getting some wins, and it helps me say, you know what? I'm doing some stuff. I'm not just sitting around. And if you're married, that can help your spouse in this situation as well as a show activity, because it builds up confidence in the overall team. All right, that's step one, guys. Hear God calling upward at step one. Step two, the attitude. I still don't understand what Jesus or what God was talking about when he wrote this verse. But consider it pure joy, whenever you face trials of many kinds, including the coronavirus. The testing of your faith produces perseverance, that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. What? Skip. I don't want to talk about that. Pure joy, trial, those don't go together, right? But that's what the Bible says. So God, I keep looking to ask you, what's on the other side of this thing? And not just for myself, but for my family, my community, my friends, my coworkers, my colleagues, my ministry partners. What does it look like for all of us? Keep that in mind. And then constantly measure your attitude. I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm all over the board. And I look like, the decibel meter going back and forth at a rock concert. And the things that come into my mind, I need to like shake them. Or, there's other things I need to stay in focus of. So kind of think about this meter as you go throughout your week. Am I in the ugly, the bad, or the good zone? Where's my meter? And as you take those circumstances and feelings, what we teach in attitude is, of course, those are real circumstances, feelings. They're going to happen. They're common. They're not to be discounted, but they're to be understood as much as they need to be for what we can do with them. But always knowing that whatever God is there for, or remember that God is always there for us, that it's not impossible, it's Him possible. For I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength, whether if I'm unemployed, underemployed, misemployed. You can do it. Keep those things in front of you. Keep these visuals in front of you. And generate a positive attitude. When anger holds you back, a lot of times anger's connected to lack of forgiveness or unforgiveness. It's what's holding us back. Whether we talk about a lot of times in Crossroads, it's a former employer, or it's a spouse, or it's a colleague, or a business partner that maybe did you wrong, or something didn't go as well as planned, or a customer didn't pay you like they said they were going to do. And all of a sudden now you're angry, and that boils over into your home, that boils over into all those other felt needs, health, wealth, relationships, all that. Fear, man, I don't know about you, but I struggle with this. The fear, is it good enough? Do I have what it takes? Fear pushes us back, but we're called to face and cast out fear with love, right? Because with perfect love, there is no fear. It casts out fear. Or God did not give us a spirit of fear. And when I read that, meaning a spirit of fear, there's a spirit of fear? No, He didn't give us that. There is a spirit of fear, but it's not from God. It's from the evil one. He did not give us a spirit of fear, but He gave us a spirit that says power, love, self-discipline, or a sound mind. So when fear pushes you back, remember, it's false evidence appearing real. Cast it out. Depression or anxiety drags you down, press toward and upward the call of God. Press toward the upward call of God. Go back to step one. Step one is not step one and done. It's step one all the time. So you can go back to step one every single day if you need to. Start your day, end your day with step one. It's okay. Do it. It's going to make a difference. I need it too. We all do. And Philippians 3:13 through 14. You can read it there for yourself. Jim, you let me know when I'm at 4 hours, okay? Thanks. And remember, guys, anger is one letter short of danger. If you ever read the Gary Chapman book called Anger, he has this big danger symbol on it, which means anger and danger are so closely related. In journaling, again, this is my journal, one of my journals. I just write this stuff down. Here's one of my prayers to God on 3/23. Just dump your thoughts. And sometimes I'm telling God, I'm ticked at you, God. What are you doing? I told you that earlier. Obviously, me and God have some words, man. But, list everyone you blame for that. Just get that out. God's going to do a miraculous work in you if you first cast it off to Him because He cares for you. He wants to take those burdens on for you. Don't let anger control you. And reach forward more. What then shall we say in response to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? No. In all these things, we are more than conquerors through Him who loved us. Back to Philippians 4:13 too, right? Through Christ. Here at Romans 8:37, through Him who loved us. So in the hot links that I talked to you, the hot list of links, I also put this facing fear exercise where you can list your fears, put specific actions about how to work through them, and then ask others to pray for you, and then pray yourself. Okay. Pressing on towards the goal also means eating right, exercising, getting plenty of rest so you can build up your physical, mental, and spiritual strength. And if you're like me and you're thinking about things late at night, it can be tough to sleep sometimes. If your spouse, she's kicking and tossing and turning too, if you're married, because you know what? They're going through stuff too. It's an interesting time. It's an interesting time, but we can commit all those to God. And if you need more help, Idlewild's a great church. We have a lot of resources at Crossroads. You have probably a lot of resources at your church. And of course, some of those that Clinton was mentioning earlier, he's going to get out to you guys. But crossroadscareer.org/resources, financial stress issues, family issues, personal problems, we cover that. And I think here in Tampa, what is it, 211? If you have an issue or situation, there's a hotline to call when you're in distress. And back to 1-800-DEAR-GOD. Reach out for that. Okay, I put this little slide in here as a little stoppage or a little pause. This is what we have in our workbook. We call it key takeaways at the end of every step. But in this point for our webinar, I thought, let's take a time out for a key takeaway. Just take a moment, like 30 seconds. What did you hear in that last step, the rapid fire step that jogged something for you? Or if you wrote something down, a couple things, underline it, circle it, bracket it, or write down your question that you're going to have. Terrific. So step 1 was upward. Step 2, attitude. Step 3 is aptitude. Discover your best. I don't know about you, but I think we all like encouragement. I mean, the Bible talks about encouragement so much. God knows we need it. And of course, he gives us the best encouragement we can have. But one of the things, and I think loving ourselves correctly, is remembering and encouraging ourselves with the things we're good at, the things we do well, the discovering our best. Because in times of unemployed or being laid off or furloughed or hours cut or maybe not being in a job you don't like, one of the biggest ways that the devil himself, the enemy, can get to us is by telling us we're good for nothing. Well, if you remember the old Bible song, God don't make no junk, it's true today as it ever will be. No matter the crisis, no matter the time, no matter the area of the country or the world, we have something that we've been made, that uniquely made, fearfully and wonderfully made, that only you and I can do. And in step 3, in aptitude, discovering our best is so huge and such an encouragement to us to remember when we're like down for the count, we're really not down on the mat for long. We have stuff to get up and go do. And discover our best, I already said, for God created my innermost, you knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. It's time to praise and go, God, show me what you have made me to do. Help me to discover my best. And if you were to take just your journal or a yellow piece of paper or a flip chart or whatever you want to call it, a series of Post-it notes, highlight one of those each and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Take 5 Post-it notes or 5 pieces of paper or 5 sections of a piece of paper and write down experiences 1, abilities 2, personality 3, 4, interests 5, values. Those are your gifts and passions. Those are part of your unique design. Just start brainstorming what those things look like. What experiences have you had? What abilities do you have? What personality? And don't put any limits on yourself. Well, I do that for volunteering, but I don't do that for work. It doesn't matter. Take all the glasses off. Take the gloves off. Take the limiting beliefs off. What experiences do you have? What abilities do you have? What personality are you being given? What interests do you have? What is your value? What are your values? Those are your gifts and passions. Now take that and multiply it by the X factor. What are your spiritual gifts? What is your true calling? What are those things that God made you to be? He gave you spiritual gifts to go out and change the world forever. What are those things? In a Crossroads, we have all kinds of tools to help you do that. I'll get you some more of that later. iWork helps people walk that out every single week. Webinars that we have throughout the country at Crossroads helps you take and break that down. But we all can write down something. And if we can't, we're choosing not to believe that we can. And I ask you to crush that limiting belief and that fear and start writing that stuff down. So how do you inventory your experiences? What is the work you did? What is the places you worked? Where did you volunteer? What did you do as a kid? What did you do as a teenager? What did you do in college? Does it matter? What are some of those things that you did? And where did you do those things? Then we have something called Starr Stories. This is great in an interview or even an elevator pitch. Tell somebody how you're a star, right? What situation did you come across, or what happened to you? What kind of task did you do within that situation? What actions did you take within that task? And what were the results that came from all of that? And you use those when you go to look at target and industry, or in your networking, as Jim mentioned earlier, or when you write your resumes or your interviews. These Starr stories, these are common threads that are through and through your whole career transition. No matter if you're employed now fully or unemployed or furloughed, these things help you even get promotions when you're employed. How many of you know that sometimes your boss doesn't always know all the great things you're doing, right? They try to find things that are incorrect or wrong, then they find things that are right. Sometimes that's human nature, but sometimes we just got to tell them, hey, I did this. Did you know that? And here's who did it with me. Whatever the case may be, these Starr stories will rock your world throughout, and they help you if you don't like public speaking, or you don't love networking, or you don't love writing, or whatever it may, you don't like being on video in these video interview times. These Starr stories are great things to have in front of you to be able to hit it out of the park, man. Hit it out of the park. And where do you get some of these Starr stories? Well, go look at your former job descriptions. They can jog your memory for what to say. Performance reviews. Hello, here's what other people said about you. Customer feedback. Again, what did other people say? Don't take my word for it, right? Listen what they said. You've seen that on infomercials, right? I mean, it's still the same marketing stuff. What did others have to say? Not just how you talked about yourself, but find a way to weave those together. Then there's assessments, awards, all that kind of stuff. And we do something at Crossroads we call your A+ VIP. What are your abilities? What are your values, your interests, your personality? How do all those weave together for you to be able to share appropriately with that first greeting of someone that you may want to work with or work for, or maybe even someone you want to hire? Think about that. Recruiters and people interviewing you are also thinking about how they can sell themselves. Are you finding these things in what they're sharing with you? Are you thinking about how to reverse engineer what they're asking? How can you ask them questions by looking for these things to fill boxes that you want to hear from them? So just something to think about. This is, anytime I lead groups of people, this is the favorite assessment, or the favorite exercise, one of the favorite exercises in step 3. Ask for others' input. People you know at work, school, families and friends, church and community. Well, I don't see them because I'm not going to work. Email them. Ask them on Facebook. And a little tip, ask a specific question. Don't just leave it so wide open. Lead them, guide them. And I'm not saying write it for them, but help them really understand what you're asking for. They're more likely to respond. Okay. And you can even set up, if you want to invite a bunch of people, you can go to Google Forms and get a couple free forms and set up an assessment from there and send people a unique link to go fill out anonymously. So just something to think about there. And you can use those within your Starr story. You can use those on your LinkedIn profile. You can use those on Facebook. People are using Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, more and more, Instagram, more and more about getting connected with people in networking land when it comes to this crisis today. Some assessments. Those are some places to get assessments. Some of those, the free interest profiler, skill matcher, those are going to be in what iWork is going to be providing through the job connection tool that Jim mentioned earlier. Also, Clifton Strengths Finder. Go to that site, know your strengths. Know your strengths. I'm a futuristic achiever, activator, competitor, and I am also a person of significance. I care about significance, doing things of significance. Those are going to help you sell yourself to a future employer. All right, I'll skip that one for now. That's just a form that is also included within that hot list of links. This allows you to put it all on paper here, all the stuff I just talked about. And then remember, you're God's masterpiece. And that's step 3, guys. Take a note of what really landed there for you, or what question you might have for later on. Okay, step 4, altitude. So we did upward and we've done inward. Now we're going to do altitude. This is when we start taking what God has to say to us and what he's constantly saying to us as we converse with him and seek him. And then how do we take then inward, how we're made, why we're made, what we're best at. We start looking for who needs most what we do best. And that's when you start really kind of taking the target and the opportunities and focus. Write that down. What do I do best? and who needs it the most? What do I do best and who needs it the most? Or better yet, I do this best, blank, and who needs it the most are blank. Okay? That's really going to help you start brainstorming. And my favorite thing, oh my gosh, what I love about that is that most of the jobs you probably already come from networking, not a job post, right? Even more so, there are companies that are looking for you to solve their problems. Companies that are looking for you to create a position they've not even created yet. That opportunity and idea comes out of what do I do best and who needs it the most. And people are looking for some heroes right now, aren't they, in their business? Are you going to be their hero by serving them with what you do best? Think about it. It's a whole different flipping the script on how to go after opportunities. So let's start targeting them. Attitude, which we talked about, getting that straight. And man, that's a daily battle, right? Plus aptitude equals altitude, because each one of us have received a gift, not to keep for ourselves, but to serve others. We are called to be stewards or managers of the grace of God, which I like to say, just the goodness of God, right? Unmerited favor in all its various forms. You may have heard it called sometimes the manifold grace of God, right? The many forms of God's grace. And that grace is necessary and needed, especially today in the marketplace. Are you going to bring that? You can when you take attitude and aptitude and start searching and searching at altitude. So here's 6 factors for targeting. Even in today's hyper opportunity or hyper drive or hyper speed need, this never changes. There's 6 things to consider when you're targeting your next place. 1, what kind of work am I going to do? My occupation. What kind of employer do I want to do it for? Right? What are the locations that I can do it in? If you can't move to Nevada, then obviously that job's going to be out unless you can sell them on the fact that you should be able to remotely work from home. And then what's the income? Now, it's not all about money, but let's be honest here. Money helps us solve problems, right? We all need to have an income. We don't work, we don't eat. Do you ever hear of that, right? Colossians, in the book of Colossians. Well, that kind of comes from, we need to make some money to be able to do the things we're called to do sometimes, right? Sometimes it's more than others. And so those occupations, employers, locations, and income are 4 important factors, but they're rested and set on the foundation of what kind of platform am I going to do it in? Am I going to do it online? Am I going to do it at an office, down the road? Am I going to be a W-2 employee? Am I going to be a 1099? Am I going to be a sole proprietor? Am I going to start an LLC? What am I going to do? What's that going to look like? Am I going to own a brick and mortar place? Or am I going to do something virtually? Like Kai Malone, I highly recommend you getting plugged into that in 2 weeks, right? VEO. And then culture. That kind of ties into our values, right? What kind of culture? Is this a culture I can thrive in? Or is this a culture I'll barely stay alive in? You want to ask yourself those questions. It's never a good idea to give up our moral compass, right? I don't think anyone on the call wants to do that. But sometimes in times of desperation, we can kind of let things go a little bit more than we should. So just something to consider. The culture, is it friendly environment? Do they respect and value me? Can I respect and value them? Those kinds of things to consider, the culture. Here's a nice website called ONET. And this is also very well embedded into what Job Connection is going to provide you through what Jim talked about earlier with iWork. But it's America's primary source of researched and detailed occupational information. It's a really nice way to help you dig a little bit to figure out what's really out there for you. And this is ever changing, right? Because new things are happening all the time, especially today. But if anything, this is a nice affirmation for you if you're on a track or ready to go, yep, it looks like based on everything I looked at on ONET, I am on the right page. And then it shows you employers by industry. You can go to Research Bureau of Labor Statistics.gov and start looking at what are the top employers that are in each industry. Again, this is all at your fingertips, and working from home or being quarantined, this might make it easier than ever to not be distracted. Substitute your time on Netflix or whatever and do an hour of this. And it's also going to get you really excited about your next step, seeing the opportunities that are out there. because the news will tell you nothing but, right? They're going to tell you everything but that there's opportunities. Also locations, this is a little different now, but remember, you don't have to close off the idea of going to work somewhere else just because you can't go there today. Matter of fact, this might be the first time ever, or the best time you can really start getting into that company that only has people working in their specific location to say, let me do some work from here on a trial basis to see if you really like me. And then I can move there if necessary, or maybe they'll let you stay where you're at remotely. So if I really want to work for this company, I'm targeting them and only them, but they're in Arizona. Well, let's see what you can do. Connect with them and see if they'll let you work remotely for a while, and then have a conversation later about whether you'd have to go there full time or you can do the work from Florida or wherever you may be. Income. This is write this equation down, everybody. You may already know this, but just write it down and get it through your head. Income minus outgo should equal 0. What I mean is, I want you to spend, save, and give everything on paper in a budget so you can prepare for what you're going to need in your next position. That's a little budgeting equation called it's zero-based accounting or zero-based budgeting. I learned from Dave Ramsey, just taking everything that I'm bringing in, subtract all my expenses, and try to get it to 0 if I can, so that I can really see what's the minimum that I need, what's the maximum that I need, and where can I be flexible somewhere in between. Because that goes, what's the minimum? What I like to earn. Well, find a nice range that you don't miss any opportunities that are out there for you, but you also don't include opportunities that just are not going to make sense for you right now. Okay, so income minus outgo equals 0 help you to really weigh all your income and your expenses to get to a place where you can have a clear vision of what you need versus what you'd like to have and start going from there. Platforms. So notice, guys, what I'm doing is going through this 6 factors right now. Platforms, again, employee, self-employed, business owner, volunteer. Take a look at some of these places and try to get some ideas about where you need to go. And later on, when you are employed, if that's a big need right now, check out volunteermatch.org or volunteer at Idlewild or your local church. Start building up your resume in other ways, getting opportunity or getting experience in places or things that you can't necessarily get at your job just yet, but you want to fill in or backfill for that next career transition. Okay, volunteermatch.org is a nice website to do that at. Here we go, culture. So easy today with websites to go see what are companies really say they're about versus what they're really about based on what their customers are saying and what they're saying on their websites. You can also look up employers at glassdoor.com and vault.com, and then you can compare your values versus what you're seeing and taking note of on the screen or on interviews or on phone calls. And then included within the hot links is this little exercise to help you narrow down and target your list to start making those phone calls like tomorrow, or reaching out on LinkedIn like tomorrow, or emailing tomorrow, or finding people that know people in these companies or that work for these companies tomorrow or even tonight. Start getting it together and just put it right in front of you. One sheet, one page, not, you're flipping through all kinds of different things. You're going through all kinds of different websites. No, these are your marching orders. You're targeting and you're getting after it. This will help you do that. And then you rank the most important. And we'll get to that a little bit later, how to execute. So what do you do best that employers need? You want to use keywords. The internet's full of keywords, right? It's one big database. It's one big library, right? Look at LinkedIn. LinkedIn's basically just a search engine, right? Of course, you're searching for employers' opportunities, and they're searching for needs that they have based on what you do for them. Go to these places and do that. ONET's one. LinkedIn's one. There's a bunch. Okay, search for target employers in selected local areas. Again, start refining that search and dialing it in. Use LinkedIn to find those employers. And then attract employers. Put in the chat box, yes, or say yes on LinkedIn or no on LinkedIn. Do you have a LinkedIn? If you don't, you need one. Yes or no? Do you have a LinkedIn? Yes or no? Yes, yes. Great. Brian says yes. Jim, yes. John, Kevin, yes. Alex, yes. Great, great. Guys, I'm going to put in the chat box. Go connect with me thousands of people I'm connected to. The more people you're connected to, the more you're going to be connected to in the first level, second level, third level. You want to open up connection opportunities. That's how LinkedIn works. Who you know, not what you know, it's who you know. And the more people you're connected with, the more the network's opening up for you to be found by these people. So I just put mine in the chat box. Send me a link or send me an invite. I'm not going to get into LinkedIn tonight. I got something to talk to you about in a little bit about that. Headlines and value statements, 3 to 10 keywords. These are for LinkedIn. You want to start kind of getting a keyword strategy together. We'll talk about that in another session. How to write your LinkedIn profile. There's the 6 core content areas. You definitely need a headshot. Don't do it with some grainy picture that's taken in your basement. Oh, wait, we don't have basements if you're in Florida, but it looks like you took one in there. Get a nice bright shot. If you have a nice phone camera, you can do that. Portrait mode works really well. If not, just take a nice one. Make sure it's bright. We can see you're smiling, those kinds of things. It doesn't have to be all business-like, but it needs to be just showing your true personality, okay? Master resume. This is also in the hot links. This is a nice way to help you, again, aggregate a master resume. In there is your basic stuff, your name and all that stuff, your headline and value statements, your experience, different bios, and then it'll help you write and complete all of your other things, your resumes, applications, cover letters. It's nice to assess all this into one place. So when you go to apply for a job, or you go to interview, you have this nice fine knit, 3-hole punch kind of thing going on to help you. And if you go to the hot links page, it's all, what do we call that? PDF editable or actionable. You can fill in the blanks, okay? And then Jim talked about earlier, you're gonna have a free resume builder that's gonna be a part of your Idlewild iWork site. Really cool stuff, guys. The resume builder is nice there. I'm not saying you'll use that as your resume, but it'll help you start getting it together. And it'll help you write it as well with some action words, some power verbs. Very nice. And you can always store those in one place. That's what's nice too. And then you can actually apply online if you want to using those resumes within the system. You'll see when you get access to it. Okay, a lot there in searching. But what's a key takeaway? Write it down. Okay. Step 5, searching, seek to serve. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, did I just have a repeat? Should that be step 6 or what did I do here? No, step 1, 2, 3. Okay. Seek to serve. The steps of a man are established by the Lord and he delights in his way. You're never going to go wrong when you're seeking to serve, right? It's always better to give than receive. That's kind of what we're saying. So it's tough right now. Everybody wants to do, of course, their dream job, but sometimes that's just not feasible. But when you seek to serve, you're always going to get the most joy out of it because you're made in his image and God is a giver. And when you give, yes, you receive, but you experience the joy of the Lord. And that's what we're trying to say here. The steps of man are established by the Lord and he delights in his way. Giving versus getting. So we talk about Crossroads. Use both eyes when you're searching. One eye is looking according to your plans, right? Many of the plans of a man's heart, but it's the Lord who directs his steps, right? Proverbs 16:9 right there. And the eye of the other is to see as God directs. What does that look like? Well, being spiritually strategic, praying continually, connecting personally, and searching virtually. And when I say connecting personally, obviously in these times, that may mean virtually as well, but you can still make your connections personal even online. Separate yourself from the chaff, wheat from the chaff. Separate yourself from those who are just saying connect, 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 connect. Take a time, take some moments to handcraft a message based on that person you're targeting. And it's not as much work when you're targeting as it would be if you're just rapid fire resumes out there. So keep that in mind. And don't be afraid to make it, you don't have to make it perfect. Progress over perfection. The first iteration you may not like, continue to refine it. Continue to refine it. 1, pray continually. Matthew 7:7, right? And don't forget 1-800-DEAR-GOD. Ask and it shall be given to you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be open to you. That's what that 1-800-DEAR-GOD blue pages looks like. You're going to get that in that hot links list. 50% to 85% are never posted anywhere. When you're personally referred, you're 42% more likely to be hired. That's like mind-blowing. 42% more likely. Connect and build community through personal referrals. Please, 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 please go find a couple people that you can ask to write an endorsement for you that you can post on your LinkedIn page. Those will help you with personal referrals as well. That's another way. Someone may personally refer you to the position or invite you to a connection or link you up. But another way you can be indirectly referred is through grabbing an endorsement from someone you know or that you worked with or that you served that will write something up for you that you can post on your profile. Searching virtually. Spend 15 to 50% of your job search time online. Obviously, that can look different today. But when it's focused on the right things and you target it, you're going to need to spend some time on the phone. You're going to need to pick up the phone and call, which means you're not going to be online per se. So don't think it's all just online stuff. You may need to make some phone calls, an email, a phone call. I think the Postal Service is still working. They may not be at their job, but some are. So depending on who you're going with, or maybe write them a thank you note or an introductory note. Just depends. You're going to obviously have to determine that for yourself. 1 million employer posted jobs are available on our website and on the website Jim's going to talk to you about. And the cool thing about what Jim's going to be talking about or sharing with you guys is that they're going to have localized positions available there as more and more employers in Tampa get on that site. And with the power of the influence that Idlewild has in the community, people are going to want to be on that site. Employers are wanting to be on that site. So if you're in Tampa area, you're going to want to be connected to that site. Okay, here's a great, this is another screenshot opportunity. I use this in all my groups. It's not in our workbook, but it's a great way to say, well, I don't know anybody. Yes, you do. Start answering questions. Who do you know that's a recruiter? Who do you know that's a decision maker at another company? Who do you know that's a former employer of a target company? Who do you know that? Start making a list. And again, with activity, with action comes clarity. So more and more connection, more and more things you're working on, you start saying, you know what? I really enjoyed being in that industry. And how I remembered that is about all the fun I had working with those people that I can actually see as referrals for me now. You start just brainstorming and brain dumping, all of a sudden the fear dissipates because you're just crushing it with activity. Start writing a list of people you can network with from personal referrals. And if it isn't someone directly, who do you know that knows somebody? And guess what? LinkedIn's a great way to figure that stuff out. That's for another training. Okay, simple sheet. Who do you know? I mean, you could do this in Excel. You can do it on the yellow pad. This is a pretty simple one, but it just reminds us. It's as simple as who's the contact? What's the company? What's their phone or email? Who referred me so I can make sure I drop their name when I called the person that I was referred to. A couple ways to connect online. Maybe because I do this every day, I think it's a no-brainer, but guys, it's not. People are not doing this. These online networks and social media, you know, in addition to posting what you had for lunch today, you can also post about, you know what, I've been doing some self-study on myself and I just want to share. I know you've done some cool things too. Here's what I discovered about myself, the things that I do best. Do you know anybody that can use these services? If you're aimed to seek to serve, you're not worried about pride. And just saying something like that in your Facebook profile doesn't say you're out of work. It doesn't even say you're looking for a job, depending on how you word it. So for some of you, that may work. For some of you, it may not. It's all good. You may want to say that more privately to somebody. But nonetheless, are you ready when asked, oh, what do you do for a living? Or what would you like to do? Are you prepared to answer that question? When you are connecting in one of these 4 ways, that's the kind of information you share. Emails, texts, and letters, phone calls, and in person. All right, up close and in person. We're not doing much of this today, that little logo there, right? But it doesn't change the fact that we can still get to know someone in person through a social media part. When we get to be up close with them, we know them even better. I mean, how many of us have gone and met somebody at a family event or a work event or maybe even a community event, and then later on we become Facebook friends with them. And then we see, oh, they're married, they have kids, they work here, they do this, they like baseball. Wasn't that the same thing? Maybe you could start doing that and reverse engineer that that you get to know somebody more online, then you meet them in person later. So just flip your mindset on that a little bit and think about how you can connect today in these times. And then stay that way. How many of you have been invited to another online group that meets on Facebook as a result of what's going on? Maybe you're supposed to birth an online group where you're adding value to people, you're helping people connect. That's seeking to serve. Okay, a lot of ideas here. I bet you have too. I wish we were doing this live because it'd be so much more interactive, but we're wrapping up here in a couple minutes. But recruit recruiters. Man, wouldn't it be great to have people do some work for you? Well, if recruiters don't know about you, they're not going to be able to work for you. So who do you know on LinkedIn that's a recruiter? And guess what? All you got to do is go into the search engine up top, go to advanced search and type in recruiter. And you'll find out people who are in your network, first, second, and third connections. Again, we'll talk about that in another training I'm talking about in a little bit I have coming. Employer recruiters. There's employer recruiters and there's recruiting firm recruiters. And I think, Jim, you've been a recruiter. You know all about this stuff. You've had your own firm. Networking scripts. Oh, my gosh. You know how hard these are if you've ever asked someone out on a date. Sometimes cold turkey, being able to share something about yourself in a way that's going to add value to somebody or be able to best represent yourself is through these three parts. You need a 30-second minimum elevator pitch. What do employers need most? Your best experiences and the value that employers will receive. And so if somebody asks me, Brian, what do you do? I actually ask them a question. I say, well, you know how a lot of people stress about money, right? And people go, well, yeah. And I say, well, you know how when they go to work, they bring that money stress into work, and that probably means they're on the phone with maybe a cable bill company or a utility company, or they're stressing about money at work, right? Well, yeah. I go, well, I help solve that because I help people to know, live, and love their purpose for their career and finances so that they're not stressing about money. They know how to manage their funds. And then when they go into work, they're working to the fullest for their employer. And then the culture for the employer is better. They're making more money. They're being more productive, and everybody wins. That's the value that I add. That was about 30 seconds. Now, again, you can make that your own. But when someone says to you, well, what do you do? Well, you know how people X. What problem are you trying to show people that's out there? Well, that's what employers need most. They need that problem solved. How do you solve it? Man, I'm very enthusiastic in solving problems, and here's how I do it. And at the end of the day, here's what that employer or consumer or customer or client will get. So you know how they suffer with this or struggle with this? Well, I help solve that by doing this, this, and this. And I do it this way. That sets you apart from everybody else. So what else can you use? Jim talked to you about this already. It's the job connector. I'm not going to go over that. Job sites. We all heard of Indeed. It's time to start using even more so, but don't get lost in Indeed land. It can be overwhelming. Go there with a target, go there with a focus, and start figuring out how you can serve some of those people in there. Okay. LinkedIn, of course, I talked about that. LinkedIn.com/jobs will take you to something that looks just like this. This is my profile. And what it does is, if you've done a nice enough job in your LinkedIn profile, it's already going to earmark things for you that may be searches you want to partake in based on words that are in your profile. So if you've done well on that LinkedIn profile, it's going to help you go already. And it's going to help you by zip code or city or state as well. So now you're narrowing your target. And this is what I got based on my profile, because I'm a speaker, consultant, and coach. I'm in leadership. I build teams. I led a national nonprofit. So these are some of the things that came up for me. Go have fun. See what comes up for you. And if it's not accurate, you may need to check your LinkedIn. Maybe you're not representing yourself in the way you need to. More job search sites. Okay, social media. We talked about it already. And if you're getting ready to start posting on social media about your jobs, you better check and see what you got on there. Look at the warnings. It just is what it is, guys. There's too much to chance. Be smart about how you use social media when it comes to seeking employment. Employer websites, of course, are going to have their own. You're going to want to get around that stupid application tracking system. I know there's ways to do that. We could talk about that in another training. Okay, take a moment. Step 6 is sorting. This is about interviewing. So I'm going to whip through this pretty fast. A lot of the stuff that you can get that's going to be big helpful is going to be in that hot list of links. But I highlighted a couple things here that says, that really stand out in today's time, especially. You always want to be prepared and passionate and qualified. How you'll know that is by doing homework on your job and your employer. And again, looking at a range. Know the minimum qualifications and show maximum interest. If you really targeted a company and you've talked to the Lord about it and you're just sold out on the idea, that you should go after that position, you may not hit all the qualifications, but you hit the mins, then show maximum interest by being prepared and passionate. And one of the ways you can do that is having all these tools and these hot links, list of links I'm gonna share with you, and having them 3-hole punched and in your little binder with your resume, with your cover letters. Even if it's an online interview, you dress up, you get prepared just like you were face-to-face, because most likely you will be on a video conference, and get ready to knock it out. The cool thing is you're gonna actually have a little bit more opportunity to put notes in front of you. I don't know if you can see my hands, but if I had some notes beyond my screen that might remind me to say certain things or do certain things that I can't have in front of me in front of a regular interview, you got some ways to make that work for you. So some of those sheets may be that way, like Starr Stories. Okay. Consider going to Toastmasters when this is all said and done. As a matter of fact, there may be some Toastmasters, I'm sure they're meeting online, because this stuff is more and more necessary today in all facets and forms to share and communicate. Different types of interviews. I won't get into that tonight. Engaging interviews. If you go through the Crossroads Career Workbook, you'll see all the ways to pray, prepare, perform, and always be praising and thanking God for each and every opportunity. And as you engage interviews, it's why we build up with upward and then go to attitude, then go to aptitude, then go to altitude, searching, sorting. It's because a good man brings good things, right? A good man brings good things out of the good stored up in his heart. And an evil man, and let's not even just say evil, cross that out for a second, say angry man, ticked off man or woman, stressed man or woman, an anxious man or woman. It's going to be hard to bring out all the great things out of our heart, because for the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. Okay? So it's like, do not be conformed to the patterns of this world, right, Romans, but be transformed by the renewing of our mind. Daily, we need to renew our mind to get ready and prepare for that opportunity that's awaiting us. Okay. Practice interviewing, practice. If you have a computer or a smartphone, you can get a cheap way on a tripod. Amazon still delivers them, or you can find a way to prop up your phone or record on your computer, answering interview questions that may be asked of you. And you look in the camera and you make interview contact, and you go even through your notes, you look at your notes and you just deliver on the question. Well, great, Brian, what questions? Well, there's 12 critical questions. That's why I highlighted it yellow, that are in the hot list of links that you need to fill out so that you're armed and ready, dare I say, wholly dangerous, to be ready for that interviewer. And you're going to be able to really be able to knock it out of the park when you get in front of somebody. And even if it's virtual, you can have the answers there in front of you. Okay. And you can print those off as many times as you want to prepare for as many interviews as you have based on that company. So practice interviewing on video. I said that already. Let's talk money. You need to know what you need. You need to be okay with asking what the employer offers, not so much in the first meeting, but you can gauge that out of the gate. I'm finding more employers. I got presented with the opportunity the other day. They were ready to talk compensation before I was, because they want to get some people hired. They want to do some things. So don't forget about that, and always be ready to share what you do best. Add value, add value, add value. What you do best adds value. Okay, there's employment tests. You got to be prepared for those. A lot of employers will do tests, maybe even more so today, because there's less face time. They need to vet you a little bit more with these assessments. Master reference list, just know your references. Now, step 7, selecting, walking in good works. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. This is about taking all the things we worked on and walking in the good works he's prepared for you in advance. But trusting in the Lord. He may have you go in a completely different way. You're like, but but what about walking good works? Trust in the Lord. Do not lean on your own understanding. Because remember, you are God's masterpiece. He's created us anew in Christ so we can do the good things he planned for us long ago. If God prepared it, we can do it. We can walk in it. This is 30-minute workbook review. When you go through the workbook, all the 7 steps, just the things that tidy up at the end. How to make an offer. Summarize your employer's needs. You've done all the homework up until this point. List the services, responsibilities, and activities. Outline the work plan, the timeline, the cost. Explain values and results, and then ask for an appointment. Now, I highlighted this in yellow because you may want to, if there's a specific target, let's say you targeted 5 companies and you really knew who you need to send a letter to, who you need to communicate, you might want to go a little bit further off in the distance and say things you would do maybe step 3 down the road and do step 3 at step 2, meaning that you're going after it a little bit more with preparedness and passion, and you're qualified. You might start making a little bit of an offer, a teaser offer, if you will, by writing up a 1-page proposal to an employer saying you're ready to go, you know you're a fit, and here's why, here's the value add, and then ask for that interview. It's a little aggressive play. Some of you may be wanting to do that, some of you not. But in these times, people are looking for heroes. Be a hero to these employers. And then, of course, how to evaluate an offer. Get the offer in writing. Understand expectations. Be clear. To be unclear is to be unkind. Be clear. Be kind. Let no question go unasked or unanswered. And I have a sheet for you to help you understand the offers better. It's included in the hot links. It's a nice PDF that will help you really analyze all this stuff. And you're looking for a win-win negotiation, not a compromise where each of you gets half, but ultimately a win-win, a collaboration. And sometimes a no means no. Some of you have interviews coming up. Some of you guys have been had the door shut in your face. Those are open doors in other places that God wants to give you the opportunities, but always keep the relationships because you never know where that's going to go. And always be thankful. Praise be to God, the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion, the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our troubles, so we may comfort those in any trouble with the same comfort we ourselves have received from God. Be thankful always and grateful. Amen? Okay. So as we wrap up, what's a key takeaway you got from step 7? Jim, we got a couple more minutes here and I'm done. Q&A. How we doing?
All good.
Great. Okay. Guys, no matter what, remember this, for we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus so we can do the good things he planned for us. That's like the 4th time we said that tonight. But that's what the platform of Crossroads is built on, and that's the truth that does not go away. Remember your weekly progress exercise. Maybe all these nuggets you heard tonight, you're like, man, that's overwhelming. Just take a few. Start where you need to start. And in this hot links list I got for you, this is also in there. Put down the 3 top things you want to do for the rest of the week. Celebrate what you have done and build on that momentum. And Jim, again, thank you for iWork and I appreciate serving with you. So just for you guys, the hot list of links, that's it right there and it's glory. I'm going to get that to you. And I'd like for you all to go over to register for my LinkedIn workshop I'm going to do that's free on Wednesday night, 7 to 7:45. And this is the link to register, www.brianhorvath.com/iWork. All that stuff we talked about LinkedIn. How are we going to help you with your search? How are we going to help you sort? How are we going to help you take all the things that you know how to do and that you're good at, that you've been made to do, and regardless of the economy, how are we going to put those together in your LinkedIn profile so that you're found first and on the top of the search engine lists? It's called How to Make the Right Connections on LinkedIn. And I'm going to teach you a super duper strategy that every LinkedIn user should know. That's this Wednesday for you, just for you guys. It's 7 to 7:45. Go to brianhorvath.com/iWork. Okay. And you can register for that. All right. And when you do, you guys will get that PDF, that the hot links. I'll send that out to you. Okay. Even if you can't make it, just sign up and get that hot list of links. And also, there'll be a recording. So you'll get an email for the replay if you can't make it, guys. Okay. So it's free. You are created for good works. This is the workbook that we talked about. Now, Jim, I haven't shared this with you yet, but there's some opportunities for folks to get it via PDF online. And there's some things that we can talk about offline of how we can get this in the hands of the right people. We're working on a version to get out to people quickly. But if you guys do want one ASAP, you can go to crossroadscareer.org and go to the store, and our fulfillment house is shipping them out. They're $15. Or you can wait to when you go to iWork and get it for free. But I would say for you guys, I think you have what you need with some of these hot lists of links that I provided you to get you started in a good direction. All right. And guys, I really thank you for your time, and I'd love to take Q&A. Jim?
Okay, thanks, Brian. Let's get your slideshow off the screen and get everybody else back on there.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody. I know a couple people had to drop off. Let me tell you what's going to happen for the rest of the night. Now, the first thing I want to know is, does anybody have any specific questions for Brian? If you do, raise your hand. He kind of gave you a big drink from the fire hose, which is what we wanted him to do. And so, Brian, thank you for that. Here's what's going to happen.